A few months ago we talked about Day of Infamy here on this channel. Back then a World War II modification for Insurgency. But as it turns out, the developers decided to make it into a full standalone. Since the 28th of last month it's available on Steam for around €18 or $20. What is pretty nice of the developers, if you already own Insurgency you will get a little discount. Pretty nice. So let's have a first look at this early access or alpha version of Day of Infamy. And since we are in an alpha phase, it is clearly too early for a full review. So this is just going to be a first impression. Honestly, I was a little surprised with the release of Day of Infamy now. Especially another Source Engine release was surprising to me, since they are currently working on a full conversion to the Unreal 4 engine under the new title Insurgency Sandstorm. More information about that here or in the description down below. But back to the topic. The Day of Infamy standalone of course still feels very similar to the mod version, but already features some recognizable differences. Many maps have been massively improved and look pretty good, despite the fact that you can still see the alpha status of some maps. Like being able to see the end of a map or development texture still being used. If we ignore these little things, the stuff that already got reworked looks good. Probably the most notably new thing, a whole new faction, the British Army. Bringing the feeling of the game a lot closer to the original Day of Defeat. If you have seen our cut content of Day of Defeat video, you will know what I mean. The link is of course here or in the description down below. What would enhance the game's experience even further would be the implementation of German paratroopers, along with their characteristic paratrooper rifles. But that might be a thing for the future. Generally speaking, a lot of people are comparing it to Day of Defeat. I'd say it obviously includes some Day of Defeat aesthetics and gameplay, but many key features of the gameplay are fundamentally different. For example, every weapon has to be aimed via iron sights or scope. The crosshair is completely absent in this game. The developers also introduced weapons completely unknown to Day of Defeat. For example, the British Lewis machine gun and the most radical add-on compared to the mod and Day of Defeat, the flamethrower. An extremely powerful and dangerous weapon against entrenched enemies, but also for you. It is quite easy to burn yourself. Very fun to play with, and the visual effects are quite impressive for the Source Engine, but it currently has some balancing issues. It feels incredibly strong. When people compare this game, they are clearly right, as I previously mentioned, but it is no Day of Defeat. For a Day of Defeat 3, it is too hardcore. Day of Infamy includes many aspects from hardcore shooters like Red Orchestra or Rising Storm. One commentator wrote, "If Red Orchestra 2, Day of Defeat Source, Insurgency, Arma and Rising Storm had an orgy, this is what you get, a fucking great time." And I totally agree. The possibility not only to play classic multiplayer matches but also compete against waves of bots in co-op missions is good, but I have expected nothing less from an Insurgency offshoot. The class and weapon select system is identical to the one from Insurgency, though the layout has been altered a bit. What has to be mentioned, of course, you cannot select as many accessories to your guns as in Insurgency, since holographic sights were still a rare prototype back then. Most reviews have been overwhelmingly positive, and the few voices raising dissent are mostly complaining about nothing new. But I guess that's why the game has been so positively received. Despite the tendency towards hardcore gameplay, it incorporates many features of classic World War II games. I seriously got a nostalgic feeling. It felt a bit like back in the days playing Call of Duty 2 after school for hours on end. The enhanced effects make this game, though the Source Engine is dated, quite immersive, and even on lower systems the effects look pretty. I tested Day of Infamy on my laptop, which is equipped with an Intel HD 4400, and it ran just as smoothly as on my desktop PC. So if you can spare the money and are looking for a good intense fight, look no further, you found your game. Some people might say $20 is a bit much for an unfinished game. But seeing what New World Interactive has delivered so far, I'd put a little trust in them. And of course, there is a map editor available, so expect some great custom content. So for a first look, a definite thumbs up from my side. If you have any thoughts or comments on this game, I'd like to hear them, so see you in the comment section down below. And I recommend our videos about Insurgency Sandstorm and the cut content of Day of Defeat. Till then, have a nice day, and as always, goodbye and guten Tag.